It's like margin trading.
I think regulation never kills the market, it kills the improvisation.
Think about why puppies are on toilet paper bags.
Yeah, this is betting as well, right? He wrote a book with 50 cents as well. Fuck, the guy it's good.
Most people in iGaming don't have a data problem. They have a signal problem. There is an endless stream of dashboards, headlines, hot takes, and confident predictions. And somehow it still feels hard to answer the only questions that matter. What's actually changing, why it's changing, and what to do next. I'm Max Tesla, CEO and co-founder of Blask, and this is the very first episode of Signal and Noise podcast. This podcast exists for one reason: to separate what's real from what is loud, and we'll talk to operators, founders, and builders who live inside the messy reality of markets. And we will pressure test ideas against evidence. Sometimes that evidence comes from our work at Blask, sometimes from partners and guests, but the rule stays the same. If it can't be explained clearly, it is probably noise. All right, let's get into it. And our first guest is Ricardo, the CEO and founder of PR Marketing. Hello, Ricardo.
Hi, Max. How you doing? So nice to be here. Thank you for the invitation. I'm really happy about it. Thanks so much, man.
Yeah, happy to see you here. I'm wonderful. And introduce yourself. Tell a little bit about who you are, what is PR Marketing, and what other projects are you involved in?
Nice. So I found PR Marketing 2017. So we've been working with consulting advisory on the company. We highly specialize in strategy and marketing for Brazil. We do as well are really good on technology, banking, e-commerce, and our highly competitive markets. That's our specialty. And something new, not actually new, that starts actually almost 3 years ago. I helped to co-found a company called Bandibet. It's an operation in Brazil. So right now I occupy I'm a co-CEO there and as well a board member. Quite nice journey there. It's a company that is based and together with one of the biggest media groups in Brazil. So it's amazing to have those, to be part of those two amazing ventures.
That's really impressive. Well, you built PR market to help companies enter and grow in Brazil, but what trigger, what market pain pissed you off enough to start it?
I think gambling was one of them, the sector. It's quite amazing because the speed, how dynamic it is. It's a school that every marketer, every strategist should work on because, it's a great school. We say that in gambling, it's just in Brazil, it's all over the world. You have one Black Friday per week, not per year. So it's really dynamic and helps you a lot. But as well, we're really good on, as I said, e-commerce, payments, insurance. All the markets is highly competitive. We like to work on.
And Brazilian market right now is booming. All eyes over the world is spot on Brazil, and lots of international brands around wonder if they have an option to enter there, whether or not. But what about the opposite side of this? Can you name 3 types of clients you most often tell do not enter, or not now, not today?
I think people that are eager to make money fast, those guys are not good ones to be there in the market. Those guys are not prepared. They want to find kind of a gold in the end of the rainbow. So it's not that. You have to be prepared. You have to be fast. You have to be localize your product. This is one of them. Other one is people that don't care about strategy, don't think long term as well. This is problematic. And last one, and I think it interlaces a little bit with my first answer, is if you're not prepared to be localized, if you're not prepared to adapt your product, it will be terrible. And it doesn't matter if you're an operator, if you're a platform, if you're a provider, payment, doesn't matter. So I think those 3 maybe even more, but out of my mind, I think those 3 are the ones that is someone that you don't need to work with.
Yeah, so to summarize, first is those who thinks it's a gold rush and eager to get easy money.
Yes.
Second one, those who have no strategy at all.
And don't want to work on it. Yeah. And the third one is someone that believes that his product is ready and they don't want to adapt to Brazil. So this can be problematic as well, because maybe you bring all the money or the marketing or the awareness to the start, but it won't sustain itself. So adaptation is key. We say tropicalization. People don't like that word. I like that anyway. But this adaptation of the product to Brazilian customers is really important.
The product is never ready. So yeah, you just have to assume that it's not ready always, especially in Brazil, because like lots of population, the market is booming, it's developing very, very, very quickly. And what I think, I'm not sure if I'm right or wrong, but I think that like the majority of IT products, the P2C IT products people of Brazil tend to interact with, develop and evolve quickly. So there is the pace you have to follow, just the pace of the market, not exactly that's something that is related to the iGaming industry, but something that's related to just the digital world customers are facing every day.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, but what about like fails of entering the market? From your experience, what is the harshest failure you've seen from an international brand in Brazil? Like, and maybe you know what was the real root cause.
Yeah, that's a good one. I think maybe people that think Brazil is just one country, that's a good problem, good failure. It's not. You see, inside Brazil, we have a lot of different cultures, a lot of different mentalities. So you have to understand local, how people work and think. Other one, people that copy the European playbook or American playbook, that they think bonus is still working and everything's the same, don't want to adapt to the Brazil. That's a problem as well. People that overestimate the complexity of the operational, the taxation, compliance and everything, they say, oh, never mind, let's do that. Can be problematic as well. And basically, I think Brazil doesn't forgive superficialities. You have to go deep. You have to be here. You have to have your team here. You have to have Brazilians on your team. You have to listen to the local people. So this is, again, really important. If you don't understand the behavior of payments, retention, content, everything, you'll be another line on the statistics.
Okay, and name one metric or signal that instantly exposes a tourist in the Brazilian market.
That's a good one as well. People that talks about cost of acquisition a lot and they ignore retention. It happens a lot. Of course, retention is a thing that people are not fully aware, not fully working on it. It's an indicator that can bring you a lot of money, can make your operation health. And then when you just take a look on the top of the funnel and don't understand what happens on the bottom or inside, that can be problematic as well. So people is really cost sensitive when we talk about cost of acquisition, and it's not wrong at all. But you can spend a little bit more on the top. You feel really good on the bottom, feel really good on the retention. Yeah.
Well, and you have worked inside betting at the CMO on the operator side as a consultant, but what do you think is the biggest conflict between the textbook marketing and Brazil's reality? What's different?
I think people say build your brand on the top of the funnel, work on the awareness, and then you can convert, right? That's the normal book that everybody says. But the Brazilian reality is a little bit different. And I think it, of course, not just in Brazil, it can work in any place in the world. But first, you have to understand the customer. Then you have to understand the journey, right? Then we start to think, okay, how can I generate cash? Thinking on conversion, retention. And together with that, you do your branding. I think people are doing this on the wrong way. They're spending a lot of money. They say, let's focus on cost of acquisition, but they don't forget the whole thing. So when you start to work in parallel with all matters, with all departments, then you start to do something good in Brazil. You don't have to focus on just one place, just on the top of the funnel. People spending a lot of money in awareness. And yes, it's important to build a brand, but you have other ways to build a brand.
If you only have 30 days and a limited budget, what would you not do in Brazil under any circumstances?
Okay, I will not burn cash, definitely, with influencers without having a strategy, and people are burning a lot of cash with influencers. This is problematic. I will never base on aggressive bonuses. Of course, you cannot have entry bonuses because of the deregulation, but don't burn your free spins, free bets, and thinking that is going to help if you have a not ready product. So it doesn't matter if you throwing a lot of cash, investing a lot of cash in promotions. This won't disguise what you have as a product. This is, again, another one. Branding is really important, but you have to have a good offer on your country, on your product, sorry. And I will never copy what's happened outside and what's happened with someone that's already succeed. You have to find your own path because Brazil can be really hard on vanity. So prove your model, understand your journey, and then you can scale.
And what's the most expensive illusion about the Brazilian market?
I think it's not just one, maybe it's three here. So you cannot think that the problem is technology. You cannot think that price will solve everything, that you buy everything cheap and then, okay, I have good product because it's cheap. Of course, you have to do really cautious about how much you're spending, the cost of technology. But yeah, other thing, high acquisition will never compensate a bad product as well. And you never ever have or can improvise on compliance. So I think those four things, technology, price, bad product, and improvise on compliance, that can be really, really expensive for a Brazilian operator.
Compliance, it's all about regulation. Regulation in 2026 in Brazil, is it more about order for the market, or it's just the death of the weak?
I think it's both. Regulation, yes, bring order, preservability. People serious players that now want to get into the market, they have a space here. So it's kind of a limitation to people that want to play a serious game. I do understand that accelerate a lot the consolidation of the market. And another one that we wrote on the report that we call the maturing, if I could say like that, of the technology of the platforms. So 2026 is, of course, is not the end of the market, but it's the end of the illusion. I can say something like that. I should say, I don't know. Anyway.
Yeah, I agree, because it's really important to embrace technology right now. And what was, in my opinion, when observing technology, like the boom of the artificial intelligence, for example, like CRM is moving fast, really. Lots of options available right now, lots of great products on the market. It's really important to start thinking not just as a magic pill of all of these things, like not as a gimmick, but as a part of infrastructure that should be the part of the strategy. That's my personal opinion. That's really important to just get the knowledge of what's the core building blocks that you will use to build the product. It does not matter. Is it technology, or is it like something you use to build the brand, influencer marketing, etc.? It's all about like knowledge and expertise, and just trying to distill all of the noise and get the insight and try to understand how to test all of this hypothesis and the pace that's already given by the market, by the competition.
It's very hard because, Max, people are not used to understand data, if I could say something like that. Or it's very hard to people accept the data as well. It's something that we can stand for, now we can say.
Yeah, I think we can.
You are a data guy, right? You're a data-driven guy. And I know that you don't come from the gambling industry, but you have developed a tool, and of course, based on your senses, based on your knowledge, that helps a lot to the people to understand what's happening, to predict, to understand some trends. And now I get a question for you, how it happens. And I think we all can learn a little bit on that, how someone that maybe 3 years ago, that wasn't from the market could build such a tool that help us a lot and help us a lot to understand data, help us a lot to understand trends. So tell us a little bit on that. I'm reversing here, but I think it's something that we can learn from you, for your experience.
Yeah, well, I think of it as of a happy accident, because I was declining this offer to join iGaming industry for many years in my life. And then like a good friend of mine and the co-founder, Dmitry Belyanin, he just invited me to participate in the idea. He came through, and I just read through this and like, wow, that's amazing. That's impressive. Let's try to transform this, because it's not just about iGaming. It's about brand marketing. It's all about changing the perception of how we think about marketing globally. And I was not working in gambling that day. So I was working in crypto. And I thought that you are a blade runner when you are the CMO. You always have to feel danger, pressure, and you have to be super confident, like 1,000% confident of what you are doing. But the tools that are currently available on the market, you cannot rely on those. And the entire knowledge base about marketing globally and the educational approach to how we think that marketers should be educated is really outdated right now. And personally, this project touched me, and I just answered that, well, I have a team. I know how to build a team. I have some product expertise, and we can try to do this and build this on top of this idea. And well, we just did it.
It's really interesting.
It's all coming to observation.
Good.
It's all coming to observation, and you learn a lot from conversation with your customers, with partners, by observing markets. And Brazil was one of the first markets that we've added, and we really started to dig deeper, and we really got before the regulation, and we were probably the first ones who start trying to find some data clues on people interest dynamics prior to the regulation. And we had like the series of articles like 1 month before the regulation, like 2 weeks before the regulation, and all of this. And here we are right now. But in terms of the market that's dynamically changing, what do you think are 3 forces right now that are moving Brazil?
Okay, I think we will repeat a lot. We will talk a lot about regulation, and it's the first one, the consolidation of the regulation. So basically, on 2025, help us to organize the chaos, and now that people are more mature, because last year was crazy, I think people that could come off this chaos in a better position will be more mature. So this thing, the regulation and the consolidations is one thing. The second one, it's the pressure that we have from to be profitable. You cannot just go and spend a lot of money on media. You have taxes right now. You have costs. You have to have your own customer support team. So everything become a little bit more expensive. So we have a lot of pressure on to be profitable. So this is, I think, another force that people are having this close look on that. And the third one, it's the change on the customer behavior. I think each and every year, the customer will be more educated. He will understand, and maybe a little bit not as, how can I say?
Mature, I
think. Yeah, it's a good one, because he will start to understand what is good, what is not, what is a good product, what is a good brand, who's building a kind of a community, where can I be? So I think those 3 things, the pressure for the regulation, the pressure for profitability, and the change on the customer behavior.
But where is the market growing by inertia, like chaotically, and where is it growing because someone just did it right?
I like that. Okay, for inertia, it's growing because you have purely organic. Brazilians like to bet. We have the Pix that is so easy. So people doesn't used to have digital payments. After Pix, we have this, huge wave of people going to digital banking, payments, everything. And of course, we have a huge awareness of the sector because of the money that people invest on advertisement, on awareness. But not just, if you don't talk about inertia, we can say, okay, we're still having other things that helps the market to grow, not just inertia. If you have a really good CRM, if you have, cluster your customers wide, okay. If your casino have a really good product, content and everything, if you have a really clear experience on mobile, and of course, if you help to educate your customer. So inertia can bring you volume, but strategy, this closer look can bring you a profit, bring you the cash flow.
What part of the funnel is the most underestimated right now, and why seeing lots of CRM? So I assume it's something on the retention side of the funnel.
For sure. Even though we have a lot of good CRMs, I can name a few. I'm not working with anyone like as my customers, it's important to say, but worth mention. Fast Track, amazing product. Optimove, amazing product. Smartico, highly adapt to Brazil. So all of them are really good, but I see a lot of lack of knowledge on the tools and of course on retention. So if people get a better close on retention, talk about acquisition, and they actually understand the tool better, will be good. So some things about the how can you use a CRM in a better way. A lot of people don't take a look on frequency, customers bet, how customers deposit, how they withdraw. And they think everything is going to be AI and AI. Yeah, if they get this closer look on frequency, it would much better. It would be much easier to you to understand churn. You understand the actual journey and predict some things here. And some of those tools, they do have the possibility to you, but we have to have good pilots, good operators on those tools.
Yeah.
It will be impossible. But again, the experience that you have after the deposit, what happened, the UX overall of the website is really important. So invest in your product is really good, and understand your database, understand the behavior again, it's important, because Brazilians, they test really fast and they go away really fast as well. So when they see a new brand, they go, okay, new brand, let's test it, let's see it. If they don't like, they'll go away, they won't come back. So you have to
limited time.
Yeah, you have to take care of your product for sure. Otherwise, you're just going to throw money on Google and Meta, and that's it.
Yes, yeah, local brands have like much better opportunity there just because those are local, or maybe just those who are best at compliance,
Compliance it's compliance. You cannot put this on this list because it's what you have to do. So I will take compliance out of the topic because it's mandatory and that's it. And people have to have this mentality. So it's not just about size. I think it's more about understand the customer, control your margins, and of course, be compliant always. But brand helps a lot. And doesn't matter if you're big or local. If you build a brand, you can build something around your operation and about your company that will help you to create this credibility that people are looking for. And that's what people have to understand. So if you have something that integrate those three things, compliance for sure, the understanding of the behavior, if you control your margins, doesn't matter if you're local or not. So you see what happened after 2020 actually, on what we put on the report. So you see a lot of Brazilian companies getting to really fast, adapting, understand the customer, talk the same language. When you say the language, not just understanding the behavior, you can talk the same language, but you say something that people will understand because your marketing are not adapt, because your marketeers are not Brazilians, so they have to understand the mentality. Yeah, the culture. So that you see a difference. So you see that split. A lot of companies growing, big ones, diminishing a lot. That's due to the understanding of the players. So this makes a huge difference. Because if big brands were like, I have a big brand and that's it, Bet365 will be, the dominated betting in Brazil. They are not anymore. I think they are second right now. And they are losing a lot of space. If they adapt a little bit more their, pitch, their offers, will be better. It's a huge company, it's an amazing company, amazing brand, but they are not local. And what we wrote there, they didn't adapt. See Betano, huge brand. They're now growing all the time. So you see people that actually adapt, they succeed.
And it's all about just thinking like local. You can be a big brand, but what I feel through what you are saying about the market, it's maybe you cannot just be the best brand, the most popular, the loudest brand in the world, but you, if executed properly, if strategized properly, and if hiring some locals who just know this, I lived a lot as a nomad in lots of countries. Right now I'm in Southeastern Asia, and it's you may live for 10 years in a city and you just don't know the short lane to go to the street, but the local guy will know this, and you will never know. If you live for 15 years, for 20 years, you won't know this. And it's all about just this thing.
It's well put, this one. It's a good parallel for what you're saying is that if you hire local people that, of course, know the market, understand, strategize better, you'll be faster. As you said, you will know which will be the right lane at that road to be faster, to achieve your goals faster. You see that it happens as well in banking in Brazil. Citibank is a huge bank in Brazil, in US. They could succeed in Brazil. So you see the three biggest banks are Brazilians. Then we have a fourth one, that it's Spanish, Santander. They adapt a lot because all their base came from an old bank that they borrow. So they still have in their local expertise, their local strategy, local team and everything. So it happens. So if it happens on banking, it's going to happen on betting as well. Betano right now, it's basically a Brazilian brand. They be themselves here. They hire local talents. They spend a lot of money and they succeed. But again, they find the right path. So I like your approach when you say, what will be the fastest lane? Hire a Brazilian taxi driver or a chauffeur, you'll be much faster for sure.
But if I found the fastest lane, just executed the market entry properly, and I'm an operator, where does the easy money end and real work begins?
It ended last year, but after the novelty and everything, and when you throw a lot of investment on media and everything, I think the easy money goes away. If people go and try your platform and they say, it's not good. So if you cannot maintain your active player for 90 days, it could be problematic. So again, when people realize that you don't have a good product, they will go away for sure. So you have to create differentiations. You have to create something different on your product.
So the fake it till you make it approach is not real.
No, fake until you fake. People realize it. If fake until you fake, you cannot think that you'll be able to fool someone for a long period of time. For sure, fool someone as a strategy is terrible. I'll never do that. No one can do that. People will say, okay, let's try. They try, right? Let's try this, let's see that we're so good in other places. So
why trial and error.
Yeah, and error.
Yeah. But well, sports and casino, it's one audience or just two different universes? What do people confuse most often?
I agree. Confused totally. So they're not the same at all. And it's not just in Brazil, it's all over the world. This is due to our mentality, due to how our brain works. And this is really important. So sport is all about emotion, the event, and you have peaks. So that's it. That's a sport. Casino is completely different. It's a kind of a ritual. It's a routine. It's frequency. So you cannot compare. Of course, you have some people that play sports and play casino as well. If I'll get a guess, I'll say 20-ish, 25% of people play both. But it's a big mistake if you think that a sports player will be a casino player just because you're throwing some CRM on that. Of course, this migration exists, but you have to understand the behavior of both. And then you attack in a good manner. You offer.
So you can just nudge them if understanding properly.
Yeah,
Do you?
Yeah. Try, educate, nurture the customers, send some, something that makes sense. If the guy is a sport player, don't throw like something out of thin air on him. Go with something easier to go. And that's why PGSoft succeed a lot in Brazil. That's why crash games grow a lot in Brazil. It's easy game. It's easy to understand. And people have this sense of control as well. So why I'm not testing this? Of course, they invest a lot on influencers and everything, but it's something easy to the people go to the casino and say, okay, I can do that. So he started for free slot on PGSoft. And then when he sees, he's like in other companies and other content providers like Evolution, Playtech, and other ones with more complex slots. Then, of course, you have table games. This is another customer. So yes, completely different. Emotion, events, peaks, sport, and frequency, the ritual, the routine. This is casino. And of course, you have some people that play both. You have to understand the mind of the customer, the behavior, and then you can go and offer something.
And what do you think about the latest release that's called the CCTV game? Have you heard of this? The studio launched the game where you can bet on how many pedestrians will cross the crosswalk.
Yeah, this is betting as well, right? I think it's just when you put on the connected TVs, it's just easy, try to do an easy path to reach more people. But this is betting in the end of the day. You see prediction markets doing this, who's going to win the elections, who's going to win this, who's going to win that. But basically it's the same. You have an event, you have an outcome result, and then if you lose, it's not your money anymore. If you win, it's your money. So it's betting, but they just find different channels to do that.
That's an interesting thing. I'm actually looking at this just for a couple of days. Like I've shared my screen with, I guess it's iGamingtoday.com with this 155 the US CCTV game hits the fast lane as stake shuffle and Roobet go live with real world traffic gameplay. And that's quite an interesting thing because at Blask we did that game detection system, just we track operators lobbies on the day-over-day basis with computer vision. And it's just quite a similar technology to what we use in computer vision. And they've just made the game. And I personally think it's flawless. That's how it should be made in the world. And just 30 minutes before we started recording the podcast, my friend texted me and said, well, I was in crypto for a long time in my life, and I want to try gambling right now. And he's a product owner. He's really talented. He used to develop the exchange core. And he's just, I've started to think about what about creating like multiplayer games? I've trying to look at the market and there are so many suppliers just copying slot games, just changing skins. What about trying to make it different? And he just shared some videos of the game he made. And it's really interesting thing. Just probably it's like such a volatile market, whether we can test all of this hypothesis, just try to bring something new that's completely different.
Last year I was in a panel in Sigma, and the guys, they throw this question, and I like a lot. And he said, what would be the future of betting? He said, of course, here in Brazil, we just can bet on sports. So the Ministry of Finance and the sports, they gave us a list of sports, and those are the sports that you can bet on. But okay, let's pretend that wasn't that, or let's step up in the near future. So when they asked me the question, what's going to be the future of betting? First, I state that because, of course, you have to be compliant and everything. But okay, let's do a small imaginary work here. So what I said was something like this. Imagine that you are in the street walking, okay? And then you stop in front of two cars. They are on the red light traffic. The traffic light it's red, so they are stopped. And then you look at them and say, okay, who's going to, go out first, the green or the yellow? So maybe your lenses, your anything that you're using, understand that and say, I want to bet on that. Okay. So if you have people around as well, they will see that. And then this bet automatically will go to some place, and people say, okay, now we have this possibility. So it have to be a kind of a easy event. The two drivers cannot participate on the market as well. Otherwise they will be cheating on that. And so people bet inside their minds all the time. They think, oh, who's going to win? Who's going to do that? Who's going to be
the nature of humanity.
It is. So imagine something like this, like a completely random event. Which bird is going to hit the water first? Doesn't matter what.
Maybe we'll just wait for Elon Musk to release his Neuralink and just connect it directly to prediction markets.
It's true. And then you have like a net of people, this collective thinking, thinking in some events, and then you create a market like this. So it can be as well future.
It's all about the pseudo-random number generator and like RNG or PRNG. Like, well, you can use electricity current as a random seed to generate something. Well, the possibility and the real world is itself, like the universe itself is a random number generator. And you can just utilize this if properly integrated. I think that's whether the mixed reality, the augmented reality can evolve into, but like they're doing VR porn instead.
It would be crazy. Imagine.
Like it's all about supply and demand. Like probably there will be the supplier who will do the contact lens implant that will allow betting right now. But the psychology is really interesting because that's really the nature of humanity. You think what will happen first. But right now in the market, let's just try to be real. Which supplier categories are missing in Brazil completely? Like what does an operator actually need right now?
Okay, that's a good one as well. It's not just one. And people think knowledge and intelligence on retention, real one. This is important. Data science applied to the behavior of the customer. So it's a lot of guessing, tools to help websites to personalize itself and give to the customer a really hyper personalization, or maybe for groups. This is another one. Real intelligent prediction for CRMs. CRMs are really good, but I don't see actually good predictions on that. And a better management of GGR, NGR, money-wise. So a lot of people selling technology, but I don't see a lot of efficiency on that. And again, talking about another brand, if I could say, I met some guys from Bragg. It's an amazing company. They have an amazing technology. And I think from out of the maybe 20 platforms that I saw in my life, that's the most complete one. They do have a lot of stuff, and group customers, give a personalized experience. So it caught my attention a lot. CRMs again are getting really good. Fast Track with some AI, it's good. Optimove have a product called OptActs. They do customized front end for you, really good as well. Again, Smarticle, really easy. But the one that combined it all on PAMs, Bragg is amazing. Really, it's worth to people to take a closer look on that and see, take a look at what those guys are doing on their PAM, on their engagement tools as well. Really, really good.
But what about the top of the funnel? How affiliate driven is Brazil?
Yeah, I think you have to have a balance between in-house and affiliates. We have a lot of affiliates in Brazil. Influencers works as an affiliator. Tipsters works as an affiliator. You have people that invest a lot of money in pay traffic. They work as an affiliator as well. The problem today, not today, it's always a problem for a brand to rely on affiliate, is that your voice is not that in the end. It's not you that talking to your customer directly for acquisition. So you have to take care who are hiring, if these people respect your tone of voice or your rules, if you're compliant. So this can be problematic. So of course, affiliate can bring you a lot of volume. So, if you take a closer look when we talk about being compliant and everything, but in-house bring you control, So have this good balance and find good affiliates will be really good. So it depends a lot who are those guys, but you have to have your own structure to build something sustainable for sure.
There are some things where people most often get it wrong. What's the cost of a mistake this year?
I think the biggest one is not related to money. It's related to reputation. I think reputation is the biggest problem that you can have here. And it's something that takes a long way to rebuild it, to regain it. I think this is the big, can be your biggest issue here. Of course, people start to burn a lot of cash. They put a lot of effort on affiliates. They put a lot of money in media. When you take a look on the reputational side, you control your voice, you control what you're saying. Does your team is aligned? Does your team have education? understand the market, is compliant. So everything can be related to reputation. And again, the most important thing, the biggest issues that we have in the world related to reputation is not a tech problem. It's really funny. It's due to the people. So understand who you work with, and who are you hiring, who are, are you training your people well? Do you have someone that is having this closer look with all your employees? This is really important, because the biggest problem on reputation, it might become inside your company, not outside on an affiliate. So again, reputation, it's against key.
Yeah, and there is no direct correlation of cash burned and your success in becoming a strong brand. But what does a strong brand look like in Brazil? What can be copied and what cannot be transferred from Europe, for example?
If you take a look back in the past, people used to talk about product-centric, right? Then they talk about customer-centric. And now everything is related to community-centric. So companies, brands that can build a community around them are the ones that's going to succeed, for sure. So it's not just, how can I do that? It's investing money on marketing, awareness. No, are you building an actual community? So those guys will build strong brands. Of course, they have to move fast. They have to have scalability. They have to respect compliance, the regulatory framework and everything. And they have to adapt a lot. So a strong brand give you three things like clarity, trust, and they always consistent. They are consistent in everything, in the way they communicate, on their marketing, on their visuals, UX, everything. You can even copy, the structure of the brand. You can try to copy the visual identity, but you'll never copy their tone of voice, their, the business, the value proposition, the way that they structure the promotional things. It's really hard to copy those things. And again, if those guys could manage to create a community around their brand, they will succeed. Talking about books, there is a book called Primal Branding from a guy called Patrick Howlon. It's an amazing book. They explain to you how can you build movements, religions, brands, a lot of things. So it's it's a good one to read and to understand what is important to build actual brand that will succeed, not for a year, but for a long period of time. Primal Branding.
Yeah, just sharing this. Originally published in February 2006. This one. The Primal Branding Code is a book review with 7 things of the creation story, creed, icons, rituals, pagans, or the haters, the sacred words, and the leader. Well, I've heard that thing back in those days when I was working in the head of growth, actually 60% marketing director, 40% product owner, that just built something like a cult-like following, the brand that is something like the religion. And that's what I really like in movie marketing, like what Netflix is doing around Stranger Things, for example. Wow, that's crazy. I really love this. It's all about this. Yeah.
True. They are pillar, that they say you have to have haters, you have to have your rituals as well. So we talk about rituals. It's an amazing book. It worth, I think, every marketeer should read, every strategist, CEO, it's a must read for sure.
Definitely worth placing on your bookshelf as a recommendation from Ricardo. We'll share this book name and the link in the description to the podcast on the platform you're watching it. Yeah, but let's return back to the market map of Brazil. What the most wrong KPI foreigners bring into your market?
We talked about that. I think cost of acquisition, and you focus a lot on that, and then you forget about taxation, you forget about churn, and people they talk a lot about cost of acquisition. So if you don't have a really good back funnel, take a look on retention. Again, we're talking to this again, but it's if you don't have a good strategy, you never succeed. It's not that hard to understand and calculate your LTV, your lifetime value after taxes, but you have to understand the whole chain of events and costs that you have on that to see if you're actually having money back from your players, if you're being profitable. So if you focus a lot on the top cost of acquisition, you will get it wrong for sure.
But on the very, very top of just establishing your operations is the regulation. That's why I mentioned licensing. Many people say that regulation is a divider, but who becomes winners and who becomes survivors?
I think regulation never kills the market. It kills the improvisation. And that's when you have this division, between the winners and the losers. So those guys that are stuck and say, I don't give a shit about governance. I don't give a shit about my cash flow because it's a lot of money coming and they don't have this long-term vision. Problematic. Those guys that do not adapt fast, again, government, you have to cut when you have to cut. You have to change when you have to change. You have to move fast. Otherwise, we will never be efficient. And this market is really dynamic. So your company have to be dynamic. Otherwise, it would be terrible.
What signals actually tell you which is which, who's dynamic, who's not? Like, you work with lots of companies on the market.
You see this on their social media. You see this on their creatives on Meta. If you dig in and take a look, what those guys are creating, what they are putting on creatives is those guys A/B testing a lot. They're being fast. They're changing every day. So you understand that. And of course, inside the companies, are those guys having problems on the part? They're firing people fast. They're hiring people fast. They're training people as well. So it's a lot of combinations here. If you're an outsider, it will be a little bit hard to understand what happens inside the company. Of course, you see on their results, but those things, when you see the creatives, the marketing, the social media, their approach that they have, it tells you if they are fast or not. And again, those guys that survive is those guys that adapt fast. So this is really important. If you spend your life, depending on bonus, depending on just campaign statics, you change your strategy every month. You talk about taxes are so high, man, that's the reality. Let's adapt. Let's move forward. Let's planning for 2 years, not 90 days. You will die.
Yeah, I actually like your take on the creativity from a very different niche, like the UX design and art direction. One art director I know just told me how to draw this thing. I'm joking. Well, it was about like managing the team of designers. And he said like many executives treat the limits and borders wrong. And they think that traditionally limits is something that is looking like this. It's like the slider. Here you have like limits, and here you have freedom. Limits or borders, let's say it like this. And they were saying like, either you're doing like the 100% freedom, moving this over here, or you just limit everything and put borders around everything within managing the design team. He said just try to treat it really differently. Try to treat it as two separate sliders. The first one is freedom from 0 to 100%. And the second one is borders or limits. Same from 0 to 100. And then you can just fine-tune the exact amount of freedom you want to give to people and the amount of borders or limits, how you just want to frame their work, instead of just treating it as a single slider. And this really highlighted me the similarity between how this approach philosophically work and the regulation and the creativity. You said it's not just like you are bordered out of the market and you just have to behave in the proper way. It just the rule that you just have to play with this rule, and that's making it more interesting. Just like football. Football is not football without penalties, without yellow cards, without red cards, and all of this.
It's a good one. Our border in marketing, it's compliance, right? But compliance doesn't board your creativity. So this is the first thing. And the second thing that I do understand that marketers, designers, art directors, they got really wrong, not all of them for sure, is that when you create like a key visual for something, you can, imagine a lot and put a lot of good effort and create something beautiful. But is it communicating something, or is just communicating beauty? So this is a problem, can be a problem. And the second thing is, when you are doing ads, when you're doing performance marketing, you don't need to create something beautiful. You need to create something that works. So it's more science than design, build, art. So if they don't get it wrong, if they get this wrong and then confuse themselves, they will have problems. So of course you can have something that works, that is beautiful, and that have size applied to that, and then it works perfectly. But you don't need to spend a lot of time, creating something beautiful, because this might not work. And designers and CMOs get this wrong all the time. They think, you have to be, of course, you have to have your visuals there, your identity, everything. I cannot even talk about that because that's the standard. But design is one thing, art is one thing, science, performance market is another thing. So never misstep those two things. Otherwise, you're going to get it wrong for sure.
this thing about why puppies are on toilet paper packs. Like, I personally think of it as the bridge between creativity and performance. And like the thing when I've started researching this case is just that the puppy on the packet, it's not just a cute thing. It's like the conversion device. And the real case from the company, I guess, whose name is Andrex, is like the obvious reference because like the puppy became the brand's long-running icon after regulators blocked an ad concept with a child because like it's just a wastefulness concern. So they swapped it in a Labrador, like a golden retriever puppy. And there's also a strong packaging effectiveness story. What I heard, like packaging redesign case study from Kimberly Clark. And the point for me is like, that's performance marketing that just happening in the shelf speed. In the FMCG, it really have to be fast and really puppies work. Like it hacks attention and it's just the biological, the physical concern because on the backbone of this, it's like hard science and when they just connect you to the fMRI scans and all of this neuromarketing things.
Good reading on that. Martin Lindstrom. Any book, name me one. Martin Lindstrom, any book, it's amazing. Brand sense, brand wash.
Biology.
Yeah, biology as well. The guy is really good. So he talks a lot about how our brain works, how we understand, perceive the world, perceive brands, how we are so easy manipulated on brands. It's an amazing content, any book.
And I can also recommend Nudge and Hooked.
Hooked is
on building the product.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's move to the data reality check. What I have prepared here is the Blask Brazil. I'll share this just in a second. You should be seeing it right now.
Nice.
Yeah, it's all good. Wonderful. Well, the all-time peak Blask Index. Let's find it. Something over here. Yeah, exactly. The all-time peak Blask Index in Brazil was in July 2024. It's like 239.1 millions. Do you agree that what's happened there?
Copa America, right?
What we see here, like it's Copa do Brasil Serie A in sponsorship activations.
Yeah.
And the domestic football ended, shifting focus to holidays like Carnival.
Wasn't Copa America on July 24? Think so.
We can see here that on the end of June 20th, Copa America kicked off, boosting local activity. And by 6th July, Brazil's quarterfinal exit from Copa America impacted subsequent activity. But I think like this was the peak attention there.
I agree. And I think we can talk about other things as well. At that time, July, we will have 6 months before regulation. So you see a lot of people spending a lot of money, offshore operations spending a lot of money with really aggressive bonuses, this war on media, people investing a lot of money and a lot of capital, outside of Brazil testing to see, okay, it makes sense to us to go for a license. So I see that happen as well. People with a lot of accounts, a lot of incentives. I mean, again, bonus, free spins, free bets, a lot of that. And not a lot of people, overlooking margins and everything. So I don't see that time as a peak of maturity, but peak of volume for sure. And then, after regulation, we see the real taxation, the cost of the regulation, the formal structures in Brazil. So then you see this peak go a little bit down, but we'll get closer. I think maybe May this year, it will happen again. We'll blow this mark for sure.
You can actually check what the market explanation is saying over the last segment. We see it right now that Brazil is right now on the falling trend that started in November, and it's still here. And it is said that we noticed that like there are lots of drivers of decline, like the launch of Mega Dorado lottery with a record prize, revocation of Trishima BV certification entry, enforcement against illegal betting sites with NL cooperation, lots of this, like the ending of the Serie A season and the final of the Copa Libertadores. Like we've made a full circle on this.
It always works like that in Brazil. December, we have like a peak. January will go down. February, we have Carnival. After Carnival, the market starts to grow again. And it always happens on those cycles. It's really interesting.
Let's check this with the seasonality widget here. We have the December number one, like all time. We have data since 2016. December number one, October number 2, then November number 3, and the worst one is February. The worst month ever.
Yeah, it's always like this.
January is not that bad. It's
It's
better
not
than
because
February and March.
you have that, how can I say, some traffic that come from December, so people still play on January, and then they have holidays, then Carnival in February, and then starts to grow again. It's always like that. It's in the graph.
And now I'll scroll down to the list of operators in Brazil, and currently we can see that Blask is showing 426 operators we have spotted without license, and 100 with a license. Meanwhile, media reported that the share of illegal operators is between 41 and 51%. Yeah, let me share this. It's like from this one, like iGamingbusiness.com. Let me just put it to another screen over here. It was somewhere over here. Check with this. Yeah, illegal market, a primary concern. Despite the optimism, a constant theme this year around the regulated Brazil betting markets has been the lingering concern. That's what iGamingbusiness.com is writing, the lingering concern over the presence of illegal operators. And many of the current estimates have illegal operators holding between 41 and 51%. Here's where these numbers are coming from, of the total iGaming market, fueling fears of the hugely detrimental impacts that bettors may face playing with black market operators. What do you think on this?
Officially, we have 78 companies with license and around 138 brands right now. That generates around $7 billion on GGR last year. So what it can be, I think we see a lot of illegal operators kind of under the radar. They jumping from DNS URL to URL. So maybe those guys are not in the radar. I can be wrong, but I do understand that those guys have around from 30 to 40% of the market. Yes, they do. And they have a lot of money on deposit wise. So that's hopefully something that, not numbers that I do have, the legal market. I do have the official numbers, but this thing that those guys are creating, they jumping from DNS to another DNS, URL to another URL. And I think it's very hard to try to understand who those guys are for any tools. I might be wrong. You can correct me, please. But
you can actually, yeah, in terms of URLs, it becomes really, really hard. But in terms of brands, like, well, if you're an offshore building the brand, like establishing a brand, they will remember what your name is and will try to return to you through affiliates. I guess they'll just Google you because they remember the name, they remember the ad, and they will return back to you despite that blocking, I guess. But what we can see right now is that, yeah, it's everything drastically changed after lately. It's like the X we can see here with the local right now in terms of what we analyze. And we assume it's like up to January 2026 this year, like 5% are without license or holding an international license. And the local license is like 95% of the expected competitive earnings baseline value.
Interesting. Really interesting.
Those
5% can, because you're measuring awareness, right? You're measuring, it's not awareness, a lot of, I know there is a combination of
user interest. Yeah, it's user interest that we try to regress. Like we see the pattern in user interest that we try to regress and transform into assumed deriving profit and acquisition, like that competitive earnings baseline. Think of it as the amount of US dollars equivalent that the might be extracting of that market under specific circumstances operating there. And the acquisition power score over here showing that same thing, but in players or customers, like the potential of acquiring customers. And this is in terms of assumed revenue.
Yeah. And the amount of money that official operators are investing, it's huge. So of course creates a lot of awareness. And a lot of those legal operators, they are under the radar. They are in Meta, they're in Google, they're using some influencers. So, but I do understand if our regulators protect our market, and then I will use those phrases, follow the money. It will be an easy way to put those guys down. You will never have zero illegal market in any country. It's kind of impossible, but PIX, it's used on 100% the bettings, doesn't matter if it's illegal or illegal. So you can have this, strategy of following the money, understand who are the providers that providing picks to illegal operators, and then block those guys. So we have a law last year that the president signed talking about that. You need to be regulated because you have the law, then you have to create the ordinances. Then I think we'll have a good path to diminish a little bit more the illegal market in Brazil.
I just tried to look at the market a little bit over here. What I've seen is, let me show you. Oh yes, in Brazil here. If we'll zoom in into 2020, 2025, the beginning of 2025, like here we have January, we can see the distribution of the top players by the BAP, the brand's accumulated power. And then I just tried to compare January 2025 and January 2026, and I have discovered, let me see. Yeah, over here, that over the last year, only 2 operators in the top 10 changed positions. It was Sporty the sorter from position number 2 to position number 6. And then I see Superbet from position number 6 to position number 3. Maybe you can explain this shift.
I think we have some adjustments post-regulation. I cannot talk about Sporty the sorter strategy per se, but I do understand that they do have 2 brands on top 10 on a bet and Sporty the sorter. So those guys are really good. They know what they did. They know what they're doing. Maybe they are starting to be not so aggressive because, again, they understand Brazil. They have those 2 brands on top 10. But I see it more as a course correction. They launch another brand, again, I think the end of 25. So still very big. I think they diversify a little bit their investment, but don't overestimate those guys. They're really good. They know what they do, and I think it's just a matter of time, and they're going to start to grow again. Talking about Superbet, they're being really consistent on their execution. They are starting to build a really good brand. They have a feature on their website, kind of a social feature where you can share your tickets. That's a really nice idea. They copy a little bit on that copy trading thing that we know from, CFD.
Yeah, it's a wonderful thing. Yeah, I really love this.
Amazing. I actually work with the guys from Naga that create the copy trade. Now every trader have this. So they brought this idea of copy traded or copy bet to their websites. Really well done. Their operation is really organized and they have a lot of money. They're investing a lot of money. So it's not lucky at all. It's discipline and it's a lot of investment. So we can understand these 2 movements.
Yeah, we can actually see here that Superbet was, besides the Sporty the sorter, like below, actually, sorry. And then after June 2025, after July, you can see the crossing. And then they've started to get even more and more traction with time. And the blue line continued to decline.
Yeah, but again, don't underestimate Sporty the sorter. They're really good, man. They managed to simplify their product. They understand Brazil a lot. They know how to communicate. Those guys are doing a great job as well.
What do you think was the most active day in Brazil by Blask Index in the entire history of iGaming in Brazil?
If I will have a guess, I will say it's between April and June last year.
It was May 8th last year.
May 8th.
Yeah,
Oh.
you were close.
Do you have any May 8th? It makes sense because it didn't happen during the chaos, okay? It happened after the actual structure and everybody started to get in place. So beginning of last year, we have a lot of operators running around like crazy, adapting their QIC, onboarding, doing everything as the regulators dictate. And of course, we have to do that. But then I think maybe in April, May, people say, okay, now I know what I'm doing. Now I'm ready. And then they start to invest more. So if I will guess, I'll say that.
That's really interesting because I see it like May is included into this market rise cycle over here. We can see like it was the decline in the beginning of the year, ended with February, which we discussed was like the lowest months historically. And then we can see the uptrend here, like starting from February, then July, and February was the lowest part of it. And actually January, then February started like a slow climb. to the top. And what we see from the AI market explanation is that the new licensed regime starting January restored trust and visibility, and aided by a dense football calendar with Copa Betano do Brazil, and then the FIFA Club World Cup providing continuous betting moments. And we see actually two sources here from the GovBR, and it's all about the frictionless payments like Pix hitting a daily record on June 6th that amplify traffic back to compliant brands. And then, we can see lots of here opening February 19th with the domestic knockout inventory return in force with the Copa Betano, and the Serie A National League restart on March that provided regular betting opportunities. Well, CONMEBOL properly pronounced this, the World Cup qualifiers in March and June added traffic spikes also to the same market segment.
Yeah, it makes sense. People start to invest a lot. They are more prepared. Then you have all those sports events. Makes sense.
Okay, wonderful. And I have prepared a quick wrap-up and a quiz. And the first question is, what is the real power of entering Brazil in 2026?
Okay, compliance is not the bureaucracy at all. It's a competitive advantage for sure. Budget buy a lot of noise, but localization buys connection. So in one side, you have compliance buying survival of the company, and these survivors that bring the foundation for growth.
Choose one: launch faster or spend more time polishing the product.
Okay, it's not just in Brazil. I think all over the world, speed beats perfection for sure. If you don't win by launching, you will never win launching like a flawless product, because the product is always evolving. So you win when you launch fast, learn fast, and fix fast. I think we already talked about that. And I think speed beats perfection for sure. And be fast. That's one of the first rules if you want to win.
Myth or truth? Brazil is a market where marketing matters more than the product.
It's a myth. Marketing will never compensate the week of your product. You can have that blast of awareness and people go, but when they realize what you have, they'll go away. So of course, you accelerate your exposure. But today in a regulated market, where people start to understand what the product is, you have to have a product. Because at the end of the day, a good product, that's a retained customer. So then you have a real leverage on it. So for sure, I'll always go for product, not for marketing, even though I'm a marketeer and I love that. But you have to have a good product.
What we have made recently, we have created the report with Ricardo on Brazil's top 20 operators last year. It's really, really, really extensive, and you definitely have to take a look at the report, because
was a huge work. We receive your numbers, but we actually spent around 4 months doing this report, analyze each and every brand, their creatives, their approach, their social media, their websites, their offers, everything. And then we say, okay, what those guys are doing, what they did that makes sense to the market. And then we even got a little bit, how can I say, could see bold or arrogant, doesn't matter.
Yeah.
To propose, okay, if I were Betano, I would do that. If I were Superbet, I would do that. If I were Sporty da Sorte, I would do that. Because we see a lot of opportunities. People call me and say, are you crazy? Are you giving consultancy for free? No, that's just, the something, of course, it's
scratching the surface.
We're scratching the surface. You can do a lot more on that regarding strategy, positioning, everything. But I love to do that. It was a nice combination, amazing combination, if I might say, between both our companies. So definitely we will do this one next year again. This year, actually.
Yeah, indeed. I will leave a link in the description on where to get the report, but it's that easy, that blask.com/report/Brazil 20 brands. Well, I know that you are a bookworm and you read a lot, and I want you to share a list of top books that you would recommend. We already have the first one on marketing. The second one from this podcast is Nudge and Hooked by Noel. It's better on the product side, but maybe you can name the top 5 or top 10 essentials, or maybe you're just happy to share those somewhere so people can just find you and see this. And I'll be happy to share this as an additional way to this episode.
The list is really long. I've been listening to audiobooks, 1 book per week since 2012. Last time that I count was around 517 books. I stopped counting that. And mainly are marketing, business, human behavior, and copywriting. I love that. I'll send you a list of the 50 top books that I do understand that make sense for operator to read, or any other people that work in the market. But right now I can talk about 5 books that I do understand that makes a lot of sense. So in order, I will start with Al Rise. He wrote a book called Positioning, the Battle of Mind, I think. It's an amazing book to understand how can you position yourself in the customer mind, not becoming a commodity. And the book teaches exactly how this battle works inside the customer mind. And for a market that is so dynamic like ours, it's a good one. Another one that's a classic. It's really hard to find this one. It's called Breakthrough Advertisement. The guy called Eugene Schwartz. It's essential for acquisition in a highly competitive market. So definitely a kind of a manual on the customer awareness. And this is a good one, but this is really difficult. And if you find like a hard copy, it will cost maybe $5,000. Crazy. Breakthrough Advertisement. Yeah. Another one is from Robert Cialdini called Influence. That's a classic. I won't talk a lot about that. Talk about social proof, scarcity, authority is amazing. Rooked for sure. We already talked about from Neil Ayal, amazing book. Explain, how can you build habits. He talks about habit loops a lot about. And, iGaming, it lives on recurrency, lives on routines, things that happen again. So understand where the habit sits inside customer mind will bring you a lot of lifetime value. So this one. And the last one, and not least, and this guy I love, I think I recommend each and every book from him, is Robert Greene, 48 Laws of Power. It's so dynamic, the narrative and the human behavior. He teaches a lot about how our mind works. And he gives a lot of examples to us, to actually, you actually think when you think a lot, it gets in your guts when you read that book. You have one like kind of a summary that maybe is around 200 pages, and another one is about 500 pages. And they talk about history. He talks about history. He talks about the power dynamics, the narrative control, human behavior. It's amazing. It's really amazing. And it will help a lot to teach us, how the game really works behind the scene, inside our mind, inside our people's mind. So it's mandatory. Each and every book from Robert Greene is amazing. What I will see,
The Art of Seduction.
Yeah, Seduction is amazing. The Laws of Human Nature is amazing. He wrote a book with 50 Cent as well. Fuck, the guy it's good. Mandatory. Yeah.
Never heard this before. That
Yeah.
book with 50 Cent.
Yeah.
I used to listen to him a lot back in old days.
It's good. Yeah, 50 Cent's amazing, by the way. Another product from Dr. Drill. Amazing.
Yeah.